So many brush kits and you get one of these and then you're like, what the hell is that for? Like, what? That's so weird. It's so soft, it's so fluffy, but it is really great for highlight because I said don't really want to go heavy-handed with a highlight, so it is a really nice brush to use for that area. Can use, like I was talking about, my beloved fluffy blending brush. He's also really great as well. You can use this a few different ways. If you really want, if you've got a really small cheek area, you can really just sort of do that as well, or you can do it that way, whatever. It's just nice and fluffy. The fluffier it is, the less like it's going to be packed on. Obviously, if you're wanting the packed on highlighter look, which is, that's great, use more of a denser brush for that, or wet your brush or spray your face, then add your highlighter. That will really pop. I know lots of the younger girls love that sort of look. So highlighting. Get so many different colours of highlighters. Just find one that is going to complement your colouring on your face. If you're a little bit more tan, you might want to use more of a bronzier highlight. We're just going to use a nice champagne one for Maddie. Same highlighter that we used on the inner corner. Great thing about this brush for highlighting, you can put the product on the tip of your brush there and really do that defined line, and then you can turn your brush over and almost sweep it, so it's doing that whole blending thing again, so we're avoiding that 3-stripe. Again, if you're oily, you might want to be a little bit light-handed with the highlighting, particularly if you are oily in the cheek area. If you have more of a dry skin or more of a mature skin, a cream highlighter will be absolutely amazing for your skin. Not only will it be highlighting, it won't look cakey because it will be blended into your skin. Cream highlighting can come in lots of different pots, and you can get palettes, you can get tubes. However it comes, you can apply it directly with a brush to the area, but again, I generally find fingers are the best because it's got that natural warmth, and again, I find when you're using your fingers, you're less likely to get heavy-handed. Same rule applies to the blush. Put it on like the 2 fingers and just do that over the area, and the more you do it, the less concentrated it will be. So if it is a bit heavy-handed, use the other fingers that haven't had the product touched on it and just sort of press it out. Winter time, I generally find people will swap to more creamier products because we're so dehydrated this time of year. Even perfectly blessed people, great skin, probably spend thousands of dollars on skincare, can still have this problem of dry skin. So just doing the bridge. If you had close set eyes, highlighting again, you've obviously highlighted in here, highlighting a little bit in here will also open up that area. It will give you that illusion that the space between the eyebrows are larger because being highlight, it's going to reflect. If your makeup was too mattifying and you've realised you've got to this point, like say you're trying a new foundation, you got to this point and it was really bit matte for your skin, or your skin's just soaking it up, I always like to add just a bit of highlighter in here as well. Just gives that a little bit of a dewiness without being over the top. Again, this is only for dry skin. If you have oily skin, I would not recommend this. You'll have your beautiful radiance of oil come through later on.
And this is glitter-free highlighter.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. I find the more fine, the less chunky. It's definitely a lot more flattering. Obviously, if going to a festival or something, go all out with the big chunky sparkles. But something that's so fine, like you want to be able to pick up a product and move it in the light. You don't want to pick it up and be like, whoa, that's bright. You want to find a light and go, oh, that's quite nice. It's subtle. One trick that I do like with highlighter as well, I'd probably more do this at night time, but I like to do it during the day. Just highlight the top here of Maddie's lips. So this is just a little Cupid's bow, just really accentuates that little bit there. So if you don't have much of a shape there, it actually brings it forward. Maddie's got beautiful lips, so probably don't even need to do this, but I'm going to do it. Don't do this if you have lip hair. Please don't. It will just accentuate it. Like I said, highlight is going to highlight. You got lip hair, it'll be out there. Maddie's hair free. Yes. that's the base of it. We're going to move on to lips. Again, it's personal preference. Makeup, like I said, it's so personal. So whatever you're comfortable with. Daytime, I know a lot of people like to use a balm or a gloss, pore cream, any type of ointment. For Maddie, we're going to use a natural sort of lipstick. I really like lipsticks throughout the day. I feel like they've come a long way now. They are quite pigmented, so they're not as maintaining as some used to be. Like if you've ever grown up with your mum or your aunties or women around and they're touching up their lipstick every 10 minutes. Lipstick now has come a long way. We do avoid that, so it's yeah, it's definitely a little bit less maintaining than that. Obviously glosses are even less maintenance because you're obviously not bothered if it comes off because it's glossy, it's going to come off. Or the other one is like the liquid lips, which is like the product that you put on and then it dries quite matte. They're great, they're quite durable. Not great if you have really dry lips or cracked lips. It will just accentuate that, and it won't last as well if you've got really hydrated lips. Today we're just going to use a nice neutral colour lipstick, nice and hydrating for Maddie. She doesn't have to worry about touching it up in the office too much, and nighttime we'll swap to something a little bit more durable. Now lipstick, you're probably going to just use the lipstick on yourself. Obviously I'm not going to do that, so just again, just avoid, just don't listen to what I'm doing now. I'm going to apply it with a brush. Brushes are actually really great for applying lipstick. I just find these are really big for the lip area. Like great if you've got great big lips, but if you have small lips, you're just tending to like put it everywhere. You got, yeah, definitely overlining it. Speaking of liner, some people say, do I need to line my lips? Yep, you do, if you want it to last. I'm not going to do it because I'm just going to wipe it off in a minute, to be honest. But if Maddie was going to work, we would line the lip with a colour that is very similar to the lipstick. And I say line, but I mean line and colour it in. Why do we do that? Well, one, it adds a little bit more coverage if you're using a lighter lipstick. Two, it actually makes it last longer by having that there as a base because it's a different texture to the lipstick. Lipstick will have that bit of a slide to it, and the pencil is a bit more waxy or more crayon, so you've got to have a bit more budge to it. And three, if you've got fine lines, it does stop the lipstick from bleeding. Because it does have that sort of slip in it, it can bleed into the lines. So if you do have fine lines, definitely invest in a lip liner. And then once the lipstick was to wear off, you'd be left with the lip liner, which is the same shade as your lipstick. So you'd be good. Like I said, I'm not lining tonight because I'm going to bite this off. And I'm using a brush, obviously for hygiene reasons, but also if you're finding that a lipstick is just too big for your lips, try a brush, more defined. If you had severely dry lips, I would suggest doing a bit of a lip scrub and a application of pore cream before you get up to the lips. The better the condition your skin and your lips are in, the longer your makeup's going to last. That's why your base is really important. Same for your lips. Push. And that is her lip complete. Something quite natural, but still enough. So, and obviously, if you're in a workplace that allows it, a really nice look is quite a nude eye and a really bright lipstick. I find if you're having a bit of a down day or you're not feeling that well, put on a bright lipstick and you'll be so amazed at the compliments you get. Even if you're not that confident, if you just put on one that's a couple of shades darker, I promise you, you'll be flooded with it. Obviously it's hard to maintain if you the brighter and the darker you get, so bear in mind. So now that is her completed look. Like I said, we're wanting this to last all day. So I am actually going to use a setting spray to hold it in. Setting spray is different to hairspray. If you are using hairspray, don't ever do that again. Use a setting spray. They are more hydrating, they're made for the skin. Hairspray is made for hair. Maddie's a hairdresser, she can tell you how bad hairspray is, so don't do it on your face. This is just a setting spray that's just going to lock it all in. Does give a nice hydrating feel to the skin. Also at this point, if you're realising that your foundation is quite dry and you're getting that bit of a matte look, or it's just looking a bit cakey, this will really help blend it all together and look less cakey. Close your eyes, hold your breath if you feel. This is really nice if you're like all hot and flustered in the morning. Some toners will be good for this as well if you've got a good toner at home, particularly if you're travelling as well. Having a little toner is just a godsend to stop you from drying. So like I was saying before, if you really like that really highlighted look, you can go back now while your skin's slightly damp. Go back with your little brush and just pat it on if you're into the really super highlighted look. And that is Maddie's easy, simple day look. Have I lost anyone? Is anyone like, oh my, this is freaking me out, I can't do any of this? No? Okay, we're cool. So we've just pretend Maddie's had a big day at work, friends have just texted her, going back into town, she's got an hour to go home, get changed, and back in. You've got to live in town, if you live in Australia, no, I'm sorry, the hour's not going to be long.
I'm screwed.
Yeah, maybe you just have to have a little kit at work or something. So what you want to do when you get home, have a look, where has your makeup worn? If your prep has been great, so you've used great moisturiser, great primer, and your foundations are working for your skin type, there shouldn't be a whole lot of touching up to do. Same goes for the eyelids, unless you're an oily eyelid. Unfortunately, I can guarantee unless you found that holy grail eyeshadow blend, you might have to fix that up if you're an oily eyelid. They really do just soak up every bit of moisture. But have a look in the mirror, where needs adjusting, where do you need more coverage. I generally find office workers will always have this part worn off because you'll, or on the hand. So if you know that you're going out, if you've got prior notice, just try not to do that so it saves you time. And obviously if you're outside and you're sweating, you can't help that. So just have a look, where do you need to apply, because I can guarantee you don't need to redo the whole face again. So now I'm just going to show you how quickly it is to turn from this look to a more dramatic nighttime look. Like I said, we're going to pretend that a little bit's worn off, and like we've had a few mistakes throughout the day.
Rub your eye.
Yep, rubbed your eye, yeah. How many times do you do that? And you're like, oh no, mascara. I'm just going to take off the lipstick. Now if you remember for the day look, we actually started with the base first, but this time I'm going to show you how to do more of a dramatic eye without having to take off any of your base or have any of that fallout go onto your base. So we're going to pretend Maddie's base has been flawless all day, she's used all the right products, her eyes not bad, we might just need a little bit of dusting of eyeshadow. So what you want to do is get a tissue, fold it to whatever size you're comfortable with. If you've got small eyes, you might need to make it even smaller. And you're going to, this is actually easier to do on yourself. It makes I look a bit awkward doing it on someone else, so I promise you it's easier to do it on yourself. You want to just place this tissue underneath your eye, and then that will stop, if you do have any eyeshadow, it's going to fall onto the tissue and then not onto the base. If you are finding it hard to hold it there by yourself, you can put a little bit of tape just over here and maybe over the nose if you're really worried about it. But like I said, it's actually a lot easier to do it yourself. So just doing that will stop any eyeshadow from falling out. So we're going to go in with a darker shade. for Maddie. We did a nice sort of natural warmer shade there. I'm going to do probably around this shade here. So it does risk the chance of having fallout because it is darker. Put the tissue back. Another great thing about having the tissue there is it does create, if you just close for me, Maddie, a really nice line here as well. So if you were to be really confident and really out there for the night, you could attempt your own wing eyeliner with a perfect line. Also, if you had tape there, that would be extra crisp as well. So if you're having trouble with wing eyeliner, try a bit of tape just over here and then just follow it through. We're not going to do too much of a liner tonight because I wanted this to be easy. See, I look so awkward doing this, but I promise you it's easier. Getting my darker shade. Now this brush here is actually called a smudger brush. So it's really quite dense and it is a dome shape. Can you see that better? Yeah. So it is quite dense. The reason I want it to be dense is I want to brush this into Maddie's lash line. And I want to start this probably about halfway to 3/4 way out. I really want to just sort of smoke out the edges. It's a really easy, quick look that can give a really dramatic effect using little product and little time. So probably best with your eyes closed for this one because you want to push it into the lash line. Again, you're using your tissue, so that's going to create a nice crisp line. Just smudging it in. Up to you how far you decide to take it. If you've got beautiful eyelid space, so it's quite big, it is good to sort of bring it right out a bit. If you've got smaller eyes, also great to bring it out a little bit as well. General rule I do is just keep it in line with the eyebrow, so you're not, unless you're going for that look, and if you are, that's cool, do that. So general rule, keep it in line with your eyebrow. Just look ahead for me. So now that has just darkened up just the outside a bit, just made her eye a little bit longer in that area. Now if you're happy with that, if that's enough dramatic eyeshadow for you, you can leave it at that, or you can go darker. If you're really keen, go black. Again, just smudging it into your lash line. Up to you how high you bring it up here. And that will just depend on how you are comfortable. If you're quite comfortable, you could bring it up quite high. If you're still sort of testing out what you like, just start off with the lash line. And just start with one shade darker than what you did in the morning. If you're worried that your lines are too blunt, your best friend's back, and just blend it in again. Just blending this in too will help if your eyeshadow has moved slightly. All you need to do, if it's moved just a little bit, just pick up your brush from the morning and go over the whole eyelid area. Just look right here for me. See, and that's the fallout that I've had from it. So that would be all over Maddie's face, which then would result in that wall paint because you hastily try and take it off. And you're already late at this point. So going back with a shade that's 1 or 2 shades darker. The reason I've chosen this look for the night, purely because it suits a lot of eye shapes and age as well. I find this can look really nice on a really hooded eye as well. Like I said, it looks good for any age. I've not picked one that's going to look good for the spring chickens. Pick one that hopefully is not all too hard. If you are confident with eyeliner, a good, like a crayon would be great for this as well. You can put the crayon on and then use your smudger denser brush and blend that out. Bear in mind, if you put a wet product on, so we're talking a cream or like a waxy sort of consistency, it does need to be set with a powder or else you will get that transfer happening. It'll be completely up to you as to what mascara you've used. If you've used waterproof mascara, you probably won't need to touch it up. If you've used non-waterproof, you might need to do just one quick coat. Generally find non-waterproof, depending on the brands, not overly long lasting. Going back with your fluffy brush, blending that through. Back with the darkest colour now. Straight ahead for me. See how that tissue just gives that nice crisp finish that you might not be able to see too well in the camera, but it does just give you that nice line. How you angle it will depend on your eye shape. If you have like if your eyes droop slightly on the ends, it's really nice to really do quite a high angle. That will obviously lift the eye. Obviously the other way around, if you've got almond eyes as well and you don't like the almondness, which I don't think I've ever met anyone who doesn't like their almond eyes, you would do this one as well. You can obviously go out that way if you were to make your eyes look longer. I don't think you'd ever go that way, but whatever if you wanted to. But generally it just depends on the harshness of how you hold your tissue or your tape, whatever you've got. It will change the look of and the shape of your eye as well. Now in the morning we did do the top and the bottom eyeshadow. We're going to do that again tonight as well. Just continues and completes the look together. So going back in the first shade that you used, you can use your tissue again if you prefer and just hold it down a bit lower. I just personally just like to tap off any excess. Got for me. This brush is quite a fluffy angled brush slightly. I just find that's quite nice for the under eye area. We don't want lines to be too harsh under here. We're just going to smoke it out a little bit. If you like your waterline lines with black eyeliner, perfect, you can do that. I personally prefer to do a bit of powder eyeshadow like I am now, then line it, the waterline with your eyeliner, and then go back with your powder just to set it, and also just to blend it all together. You quite often see that look where it's just the waterline and it's just so harsh, which is fine if you like that sort of style. But if you're wanting to sort of smoke it out a little bit, you will need to blend eyeshadow through it. Best friend. And look up. If you have watery eyes when you're doing this and the brush is a little bit tickly, I was told to put your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Why that helps? I think it just honestly distracts you because you're like, why the hell am I doing this? And then you forget about your eyes watering. But give it a go, see if it works for you. I can guarantee you will need to highlight the inner eye again, purely because it's natural for the eye to water. And open it straight ahead. For night time, I also like to brush just a little bit of highlighter just underneath the eyebrow here. This is a really great trick if you have not a lot of section between your eye and your eyebrow. It just really opens up the eye area, because remember, highlighting is attracting. That's what we're seeing. Just turn this way for me. But again, if you missed your eyebrow appointment and you're really hairy, probably best not to do this. That's all you're going to see. Best friend. I'm only just blending it in a little bit. I really don't like that, the 3-line look, so just blending it all through again. So like I said, if you wore non-waterproof, you're probably needing a touch-up of your mascara, but if you use waterproof, you should be fine. So then you just move on to the face now. If you did have any fallout, the tissue wasn't working for you, simply either just remove with your micellar solution wherever the fallout was. No good putting on your concealer now, going, oh, I'll just get off that fallout with the concealer. You're just going to end up with grey smudges. So up to wherever your makeup has worn off will be wherever you need to touch up. Another good spot, oh, not really a good spot, a spot that always wears off, I find, is the nose. Reason for that is if your nose is too oily, it will just soak up the makeup. If your nose is too dry, it's going to soak up the makeup. So kind of need a happy medium, which is very rare for nose area. Especially if you have blackheads, you tend to use really stripping products to get rid of the blackheads, which just soaks up your skin. So I'm just going to touch up a little bit. We're just going to pretend Maddie has lots of spots that are missing. I'm using concealer now purely because we're going to assume Maddie's going to be out for a few hours. Don't know any of you if you find that if you do have a few drinks and your nose starts to go a bit red or wears off, definitely want to conceal first.
So he's doing this at this point. It doesn't matter that you previously powdered them.
If it's really worn off, it would be pretty well gone, yeah. If you did use like a sponge, because I said that actually holds a lot of product. If you're really time poor, your face still looks okay, but maybe it's just like cracking in a few places, just dampen your sponge and then just sort of press it back onto the area like that. That'll help. Just damp, you don't need to put any product on it. That can just help. now we're going to use I say it's a bronzer, but it's probably more of a contour colour. I'm not going to contour too much because again that's a whole category in itself for different face shapes. I'm just going to use it a little bit on Maddie just to show you the difference in it. So this is the daytime bronzer that we use, so it's quite orangey. Don't necessarily need to be this one, but any type of bronzer that's more orangey, more matte. For nighttime, I like to dust just a little bit of that on there, but then I prefer a more darker colour for more of a contour. Notice how that one is actually, I might not be able to tell in this light, but it's actually what I would call cooler. So this one is more warm because it's got your oranges tones coming out, and this one is more of your cooler tone. Both matte, like I said, keep it in mind, one matte, only one shimmer product for the face. So because Maddie's already got a little bit of bronzer still on from the day, if you really had to remove a lot of your face or it's not lasted, just do a quick dusting of bronzer beforehand. And then for the darker one, I like to use an angled brush. This is, it's quite fluffy, you can get quite dense with this as well. Personal preference, the lighter it is, the lighter the coverage. So if it's quite dense, you can end up with really strong lines. So fluffier it is, the softer the look. Generally, a bronzer or like a contour can actually be quite pigmented, so it is good to sort of just dust off a little bit. A little bit goes a long way. Now when it comes to, we'll call it contouring, it is best to start from your hairline and blend down. That'll stop you from giving that really striped look, and you can always blend it back into the hairline. So an angled brush like this is really great because generally the products hit around there and you would be pointing your brush like that. And you're just wanting to blend it upwards. The rule I find for contouring is to follow the hollow. So wherever your hollows are is generally where you'd put your contour. If you have quite prominent cheekbones, you probably don't really like contouring, and I would suggest not to even really worry about it because you've already got your natural hollow. You generally don't want to accentuate it too much. But you're just sort of brushing it upwards just to make sure it's nice and soft. Let's turn to this way. If you're not sure where your hollows are, just have a feel. You feel your cheekbone and it's just directly underneath that. I know there's lots of faces that you can pull as well to find your hollow, so if you're home by yourself you might want to do that. I won't make you do it. Again, if you're wanting to add blush, you can as well. But bear in mind, if you are one of those people that has a tendency to redness after a few drinks, maybe avoid that. General rule when you are contouring as well, I said to start in your hairline, and you don't want to go any further. Just look straight ahead for me. You don't want to go any more closer to here than the middle of your eye. Keep that as a rule, otherwise you are literally going to cut your face into two halves. Obviously contouring is darkening an area, which makes other parts of the area stand out more, and the reason that we contour here is to draw in, and the reason we highlight here is to make your cheeks pop. So if you're severely contouring and you're going too far, you will literally look like you've separated the top part. So just use that as a rule, no further than here. Some people don't even need to go that far. Really subtle contouring will literally just be probably to even the eyebrow area. That's always really soft as well. It's nice just to bronze a little bit under here. If you are quite advanced and you do like your contouring and you are contouring under the jawline, just blend as much as you can just to make it not so obvious. And for Maddie's nighttime look, I am literally just going to use my bronzer again as the blush. Big cheesy smile. If you feel like your contour has come down too much and you've really hollowed out your cheek, go back with, if you've used a brush, try and swap it for a more angled brush and a denser brush, or if you did use a sponge, these ones are great because they've already got that angle there. So if you feel like you've brought your contour down, just go this way for me, too far, you can simply just go back and press, and that does give a nice crisp line if you are into the sharp contour look as well. Add a little bit of highlight here. I'm going to use a fluffy brush because generally speaking Maddie would have still a little bit left over, especially out here because I've only really touched up around her nose area with the concealer. So the nice fluffy brush. Like I said, if you prefer that really highlighted look, spray your face first with your setting powder or just spray your brush. I prefer to have the face wet and then add the product to it. I just find sometimes, depending on the brush doesn't like to be wet. If it's super fluffy, it's designed not to be wet. So when you're adding a wet brush to product, it can just get a bit messy. Also, if you're adding wetness to a powder, you're actually then potentially creating bacteria in your product as well. Powders do have more of a lifespan than a cream product. To know your lifespan of your product, have a look on the back and you'll see, maybe not so much on here, yep, so 12 months. So once this is open, you have 12 months to use this. I know so many people are like, oh, I've got makeup from like 20 years ago. Yeah, that's fine, that's great, but it's probably not that great for your skin. Like I said, powder obviously has a longer life than cream. If you have cream products, 100% throw them out. If they're more than a year old, throw them out. There'd be so much bacteria in there. Just doing a bridge. Back doing that area. If you were to add lashes, I totally forgot about that part when I was doing the eyes. If you were to add lashes, I would do lashes before you moved on to fixing up your base. Reason being, even if you are a lash wearer regularly, you still find that your eyes need a bit of time to adjust from having your eyes stuck together or the glue or the heaviness of your big dramatic lashes. So do that before you do your base. So you've got a bit of time for your eyes to open up, adjust a bit, unstick. I didn't do lashes on Maddie tonight purely because there would be no point of me showing you how to do it on Maddie because you're going to do it on yourself and they are completely different. But a few tips for lashes, the stickier the glue the better it is. So if you are putting glue on your lashes and it's quite wet and you're putting it on, you run the risk of actually sticking your lashes together, the top and the bottom together. Also it will just move. It will move into a place that you don't want. So the stickier the glue is on the lash, it will basically stay there. You do have a bit of time as well. When it's a bit sticky, you can put it on and move it around a little bit. So the stickier the better. So when you're coming up to your lashes, You can even, you're coming up to the time to put them on. Line your lashes then however you feel comfortable lining it. If you like the little nozzle that comes on the glue directly on the lash line, that's brilliant. Do that probably a minute before you're about to put them on, just to give that time to get a bit of stickiness. I prefer to put glue on my hand. That probably comes from actually just doing it on clients, but I like to put it on my hand because I can then see how tacky it is getting. Some glues take a really long time to dry, so you think, oh, good to go, it's been a minute, but it's only been maybe 20 seconds. You don't know how long time goes. So you can actually just judge how sticky it is, good stickiness, run your lashes through, always making sure you're putting a bit extra glue on each end so you don't get that annoying lash popping off throughout the night. Lashes don't have to be very scary either. There's a lot of clients who avoid lashes. You can actually get lashes that, obviously you've got the full big strip lashes. You've also got little 3/4 lashes, which will literally just start from here and go out. Really great for opening up the eye, less damage. And I say damage, I mean like it's not as much glue going to be in your eye if you're learning how to do them. If you're beginning, start with the smaller lashes first. Do it on a night you're not going out anywhere, so if you do get stuck, hopefully someone's home to help you, but you're also then not going out like worried about your lashes. So practice, practice, practice. It is honestly the only way you can nail lashes. Best thing to do is have probably a bigger mirror than this, but maybe a handheld mirror, and being able to look down on that angle and placing your lashes there. Like I said, the stickier it is, that you think it's going to be drying really quickly, but you've still got a bit of time to manoeuvre around and pinch it together as well. If you have any questions about lashes, you can always send me a message. Let me know what lashes you'd like. Okay, last for Maddie, we're going to do a lip. We did a nice natural lip for the office, but we're going a bit more tonight. Might get lucky tonight. Got to have good lips. So we're swapping from a lipstick to a liquid lip. I just wanted to show you a liquid lip because some people still probably may not have heard of a liquid lip. So this is the product that is wet, obviously, but it dries matte. So people who can get away with this type of lip are ones that have really hydrated lips. Any lip size will benefit from this. Some people think that they can't wear something like this because they've got too big lips or too small lips. I don't believe that's true. Just the condition that your lips are in is the reason why you wouldn't be able to wear it. Again, I'm using a brush for hygiene purposes. You're obviously going to use the wand. A trick with the liquid lips is you do need to move quickly though, because it is obviously drying because it's a mattifying product.
Would you line under this one, Lucy?
You can. I do find the liquid lips to be quite pigmented, so I generally tend to not to do that. It also, liquid lips do like to have minimal layers. If you add too many layers, that's when you get your flakiness happening. So if you can do a nice even one layer and then you can go back and do a little touch up, that will last a lot longer. So I generally don't line with it. I line with the product but not with a lip liner, if that makes sense. Depending on the brand and the formula of your liquid lips, I do find it does tend to wear off just in the middle of your lips. So I would say it's a pretty good product because it's a less maintenance, because you're only really needing to touch up in the middle here, if at all. Some liquid lips are really quite pigmented and hold their colour really well. You don't end up with that line on the outside. If you aren't wearing a product like a liquid lips that dries matte and you're using more of a lipstick or a really pigmented gloss, if it is a dark or bright colour, I do always say you need a spotter. So that is your girl pal, whoever that's with you that can keep an eye on it. A matte product's fine, that's going to dry, that's fine, but if you go outside and get hair in there on a lipstick or a lip gloss, it's going to go there, and if that's red or even that colour, that's going to go all through her face. So always have that one person that can be like, how's it going? Or just use a matte product and you'll be fine. If you feel like the need to just touch up a little bit, you can go back with your brush or your sponge. If you used a brush, I would just use a very, very dense, small one. So this is dense, like there's not a lot of fluff to it. You can run back some concealer or foundation underneath it as well, just to sort of clean up your lines as well. I'm going to finish off with some setting spray, because Maddie's going to be out all night. If you're feeling really extra, or if you are wearing a top that maybe has your shoulders out, I really like to highlight the bones as well. I just find that looks really nice, particularly if you've got your shoulders out. You can even mix a bit of highlighter with a moisturiser as well, just to give that nice sort of subtle glow as well. Well, you don't have to do this. This is just really extra, but if you like to do it, it does just make them stand out, because remember, we're highlighting. But you're mixing it with some moisturiser. It's really, really beautiful. So easiest way to do that is a little knife even, and just break off a little bit into your hands, add a bit of moisturiser. And that is the nighttime look complete. So, anyone have any questions? We've got, how long have we got? Oh, we've still got a fair bit of time.
Waterproof mascara remover, what can I use that's cheap and easy?
Cheap and easy. There is micellar solution. This one is an oil infused one, so this does remove waterproof. So this is just Priceline, Coles, Woolies, wherever you get it. This is like the one that I used at the start to prep her skin, so that is really good. Anything that's an oil will remove the waterproof. So even some, like there is also creams as well that are a bit more creamy and a bit more oily. That will remove it really nicely as well. Yeah.
Oils on like oily skin, is that bad?
Well, depending on the type of oil. Some oils are actually designed to absorb the oil, which is really confusing for an oily skin, because an oily skin will generally avoid any of that. Generally, an oily skin will also avoid moisturising altogether, which is actually not correct. When you're doing that, your skin actually produces more oil to compensate the oil being removed. So you're going to be producing even more oil. So depending on the oil, if it says that it is like a drawing out oil, that's probably because there's ingredients in there to draw it out. But if it's just a regular oil, it probably is not going to agree with an oily skin, no. But definitely keep moisturising an oily skin, yeah, that's huge. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
Would you please explain a little bit about sunscreen?
The sunscreen?
When
yeah.
you can use it, and what type?
Yeah, so it depends on, so I said not to use if you were worried about the flashback. So generally foundations will actually have an SPF rating on it. It can be quite high, it can be anywhere from probably 15 plus, I think they actually advertise it, but generally there will be a couple of ingredients in there, zinc, which will actually block a bit of sun as well. But if it says on the actual label SPF of 15, that's when it can cause the flashback. So that's just because there's more SPF in it, so more ingredients in there that will be binding particles together to get that flashback. So if you're wanting to use a sunscreen, you work outside, you've had previous skin cancer removed and you really are for the SPF, pop it on during the day. If you're wanting to be at night time, it will be fine. Just bear in mind it could have a flashback. If you're at an event with a professional photographer, that won't happen because they will actually have the flash coming from above. So you're not going to get that. Flashback generally happens when it's a selfie because the flash is right there and it's booming off your face. But if you're getting really into the selfies, you can hold it away. But if it's direct flash, that's when you're going to get your flashback. Yeah, so if you are using it in your day moisturiser and you are worried about the flashback for night, unfortunately you will have to remove it. It can, if you have an SPF in your moisturiser and an SPF in your foundation as well, some say that it's like if you've got 15 in your sunscreen and 15 in your foundation, you end up with 30. It's not actually the case. It's quite low. So when people are like, oh, I've got 15 plus in my foundation, well, if you put 3 other things on with your foundation, you don't have that SPF factor anymore. It's getting less and less. Yeah, so just bear that in mind. But it's important to wear sunscreen. The more sunscreen you wear, if there's younger people here, wear your sunscreen now so you don't have to use concealer later on. You don't have to cover up those sunspots that are hard to cover up sometimes.
Is there a reason why you didn't use under eye concealer?
Because Maddie had 12 hours sleep. She didn't need it. But yeah, normally I would do, if you did have concerns of redness or coloration under the eyes, I would probably do the concealing before foundation because you know that's a concern, and I can guarantee you wouldn't be happy with the foundation no matter how high the coverage is. But bear in mind, if you've got fine lines, avoid less product in the area of fine lines. The more product you're adding, it's just caking it on. Some people feel like they need to keep adding it to fill it in. That's not the case. If you use a smoothing primer, that will help for fine lines, and then go over it with your concealer, but avoid powder in that area. But yeah, fine lines, discoloration, do that beforehand. Yeah. Good question, thanks. Any others before we finish up?
Eyeliner, do you use eyeliner?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't tonight because I just found this look didn't really need it. But I would use, when we did the smoking out for the more dramatic look, normally I'd like to use a nice crayon and then blend that out. You can also, if you are game, you can line, just get your look up for me, mate, under here, and that's called tight lining, and that really changes the shape of your eye as well. If you don't have a lot of lid space, lining there will really give you that lined look without cutting off half your eye. And obviously in the waterline as well is really nice as well. It can really sharpen a look though, so if you do have small eyes, I tend to just line either top or bottom, not both. Yeah.
How often do you clean your brushes?
Mine? Or people in general. So this gets asked a lot, and I think a lot of people are pretty guilty. I would say at least once a week. Absolutely once a week. Yeah.
But for wet product, not for dry product.
Yeah, dry products should be fine, and they should just come off really easy on paper towel or an old towel. But yeah, your cream brushes, they are riddled with bacteria. So yeah, the first thing when I worked in salons, if I had girls come in, or even women, who are like, I've never had acne before, and now I've got acne. I'm like, when was the last time you cleaned your brushes? Oh, you have to clean them. Yeah, you do. It's really bad for you. So yeah, once a week. Look, you can just, I didn't even read tonight, but you can just buy like an alcohol spray. That will basically kill off the most of it. So if you're not wanting to do it all the time, killing it off will be fine because you're only using it on your skin type as well. And then when you want to do a deep cleanse, I just use whatever shampoo you use.
Away and buy new ones.
Yeah, if you want to do that, or if you've already paid $500 for brushes, you probably don't want to do that. Yeah, whatever shampoo you like to use on your hair. Obviously, the better quality of the hair of the brush, you want to treat it with the same what you do for your hair. Obviously, if they're cheaper brushes, you're not going to notice the difference if you're using a $50 shampoo to a $2 one. So, if you've got expensive brushes, treat them with your real shampoo. Yeah. Generally, don't use a conditioner though. Some people find that they'll use a conditioner to make it softer. It will make it softer, but it will absorb the oils from the conditioner, and it will make it really hard to blend because the oils will be stuck in there. So just shampoo would be the best way to clean it. Cool. Any other questions? If you had any questions, I know you sort of go home and start thinking about it, or you might go to do your makeup tomorrow, feel free to send me a message. I'm always around. All my details are on the flyers that are on your chairs. I always like to hear, like, if you've tried something different, or you've tried that bright lip and you've been flooded with compliments. I love to hear that sort of stuff. So give it a crack and never stop practicing, because you can never. YouTube is amazing. Like, if you really want to learn a bit more, as long as you're finding someone who has similar features to you, I think is the key. Same for, like, if you are to get your makeup professionally done, generally an artist will ask for a few photos of styles that you like. When you're doing that, find styles that are similar to you. If she's got blonde hair and you've got brown hair, it can look completely different alone. Obviously skin tone as well. If you have a darker skin tone, look for a picture of a girl with darker skin tone. So same goes for YouTube. Find someone who you really can sort of resonate with, and yeah, that will help. And it's always fun to have the YouTube set up and your makeup out and have a little night. That's always fun. Yeah. Any other questions? Cool. Well, thank you all for coming out. You've been wonderful. I hope I haven't scared you all with my makeup. But yeah, do give it a go. Try that easy look, tonight look. Try a bright lip just for something different. It's amazing how good you feel when you're trying something different. Yeah, like I said, if you've got any questions after this, feel free to send me a message. I'm always happy to answer any questions. Or if you've got troubles, if you're finding something's not working and you're not really sure why, send me a message and we can talk about maybe why it's not working for you. But thanks again, and hope you all had a good night, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.